Hola, my audience of individuals located within KSI's pocket dimension known simply as the thick of it. Welcome to my top 10 Arknights Bosses based on story. We need to establish some things first before we get started. First, 500 likes and the next scripted video will be that fixing my least favorites video. And secondly, as much as it hurts me, and believe me, this is as painful for me as a white woman being told her local Starbucks just shut down. So, we will not be including Dorothy on this list. I've talked about Dorothy a lot, and in spite of what the voices tell me, I'll take a break from Roingus discussion. Now then, let's get started. Oh, and
Don't you see, Hoderer? All of this. It was once ours, and soon it shall be again. Once this war is over.
Sir, that's a Home Depot parking lot.
Indeed it is. Once the Sarkas did our own DIY home projects, with the finest tools known to man. But for far too long, we have been relegated to the cheap shit.
Why not just make our own tools?
Hoderer, seriously, can a devil finish his speech? Because right now you are crushing my vibes.
The number 10 slot was hard to fill. I flipped through multiple options, but in the end I'll settle on Manfred. He's a generally stoic, do what you gotta do figure, as well as an anti-bullying PSA, as he was the victim of the sarcasm equivalent of Disney Channel original bullying. He's a good baseline villain, solid enough by himself, with a bit underneath to uncover, and good connections to other characters. A real solid starting point. If you need a clearer indication than my words in the intro that gameplay isn't what I'm grading, cliff, ladies and gentlemen. Now this boss fight feels like a 20-year career at Taco Bell condensed into about 10 minutes. Incredibly painful and full of spiraling infinite despair. Clip, or Big Roops as the streets know him, was originally involved in Colombia's based War of Independence to break free from those stinky, unwashed Victorians and their bean-based tyranny, where he ended up selling out Woodrow like a jungler, letting their bot lane get used like a fresh new pair of Tengas for a couple grubs. He ends up after the war founding Black Seal, which isn't originally a private group, but after some failures from the Colombian military, Clip is able to get Black Seal independent status, which he uses to bring democracy and horrific damage worldwide, make money defending financial institutions, sell his original chili spices in the gift shop, and hire big titty Zolok women. Which, I mean, give us Tila, come on, Clip, I need the ninja squirrel! I want to destroy something. Hominy? Are there any children's hospitals around?
Leader, we just finished building a children's hospital to improve our reputation last week. We really shouldn't do anything like that.
Alright. Any public schools?
No, not that either.
Okay. I understand. The youth are important to our plans.
Where are you going with this?
A retirement home will do. I mean, my Tara has no need for those who are not strong.
Leader, no!
Sometimes what a villain needs is to not shy away from their villainy. Eblana is a disgusting person driven by a personal desire for more of everything, like a standard fantasy dragon, or Jeff Bezos. And much like at Amazon, if you ever have to take a piss at work, instead of letting you use the bathroom, you'll be brutally murdered by your supervisor, and your corpse will then be presented to your ruler, who will reanimate said corpse to continue boxing shitty Chinese phone chargers. Eblana is cruel and merciless, which explains how she could get along and work with Sarkaz, but I digress. Having a villain who you just do not like, and is intimidating, is really good. While Mephisto is more just like annoying, like a little kid who's constantly being a nuisance. One well-placed set of furious fists would turn that soft spot into a crater. Meanwhile, Eblana is a gaslighting, gatekeeping girl boss, and like a true Twitter girl boss, is also a totalitarian psychopath. The Rat King strikes me as the type of guy where he is way more into the trends of the younger generation than his kids. Like he 100% knows about and uses Sigma in everyday dialogue. He's a real cool old man who is a great mixture of intimidating and chill. From selling candy to kids as a legitimate business where nothing strange is happening, to straight up dropping Mafia guys. Although, let's be honest, Arknights Mafia dudes are about as intimidating as a 4'8" guy in a dunk contest. If these guys don't have unique portraits, they suck. Like it is an inescapable vortex, a black hole where all competence goes to die. also known as the DMV. Anyways, the Rat King. I love the funny grandpa. When he gets serious, he's fucking cool, his design is awesome, and his daughter is, well, I must be a KFC deep fryer the way I attract rats. Patriot should be absolutely peak. He isn't quite there, but he's pretty good. His whole story of changing allegiances is cool. Bro really is that dude who's too loyal for his own good. Finds a nice girl, genocidal regime, does everything for her, and she cheats on him. Starts another 12 pointless wars the Sarkaz will lose like always. He keeps staying around until he finally moves on to another girl, another government, and they make him do a bunch of weird stuff for them, murder his son. Then he gets a backbone after she dumps him, he got cancer. And then he finds a new fiery partner and gets a kid, but the partner's fucking crazy, gets his daughter killed, until he just kinda isolates himself in his room, fights to the death. Patriot's main flaw as a boss is that he does about as much as a career politician in the story. He's just kinda there, says a couple things, we run into him a total of 2 times. Now granted, even our limited run-ins at least have him talking to women more than someone in a VTuber chat, so he's getting somewhere at least. However, Magic Cancer Wendigoon will never get to finish his series talking about the Sami Tapes analog horror series. And it's all our faults. We should be ashamed. What can I say? I am something of an icon. Go 0-1 IRL. I've been playing a lot of online games recently, and it's given me some inspiration while I'm out on my job. Rope is $10 at Home Depot. I think finding ways to be passionate about your work is really what makes it rewarding in the end. I don't really have much to say about the Emperor's Blade in all honesty. They're just really fucking cool. The whole design with all the tubes feeding them government-sponsored demon farts, this incense which is curated from the balls of the unnoble horrors of the North and will completely assimilate them should they be weakened to a state where they can't fight it anymore. And they're a kind of secret police assassin type group that takes orders directly from the Emperor. They're just fucking cool. That's it. I don't have some deep reason for why I like them. Okay, I'm allowed to let the little 10-year-old Rain in me out for once and just say that I like them because they're cool. So if you need me, I'll be hanging around Jerboa women. Just text me and I'll get around to it eventually.
Sir, can we stop being racist?
Andoain, you don't get it. Out there, it's chaos, war, violence. 2 walled-up men fighting in a Walmart. It cannot be salvaged.
I just want a Liberi girlfriend.
What's next, Andoain? Man in sweets. Sarkaz rights. Forcing me to stop watching alpha male podcasts.
I just think we should.
What color is your Bugatti, Andoain? And when did you get on the Joe Rogan Experience? Andoain is a guy who thinks racism is bad. Yeah, this is one of the final bosses of an event. Real interesting decision there, HG. I love that he's not just pontificating about making a change, he's actively going out and trying to make changes, even if it doesn't work. Like the Taco Bell Big Cheez-It Crunchwrap Supreme, where you try it, but they forgot the beef, so it's just like this dry-ass chip in the middle of a tortilla, and it sucks. Anyways, Andoain is perhaps the most justified enemy we face in the entire game. Upon realizing that the godlike entity that the Sancta all worship is a 480-powered gaming PC run by a 13-year-old kid in Missouri, Andoain realizes that maybe they shouldn't rely on it as much as they do. Now, the big problem is that the Sarkaz constantly prove the Pope and the law right. Like, if they were taking a math test, they're out here showing all their work. Which, I mean, of course they are. Because if they skip one step, the joyless wench teaching them will take away 20% credit for one step. Hypothetically.
Doctor, I think we're making progress in fighting neuropathy. A cure may be possible after all. If we're still on for League tonight, I'll see you later.
Teresa, we gotta start the plan, like, ideally within the next 3 hours.
Good, Scout's cookies.
Oh boy! Ouchie.
Well, heavy is the crown, eh, Teresa? You doing alright?
I'm dying.
She's being a good sport about all this.
Damn you.
It's really tough to try and be the unified world savior when your people talk about murdering everyone of a different race as casually as you may address the weather. Now, before anyone says, Teresa isn't a boss, don't tell me how to make my list. She has a thingy on her health bar, so it counts. Teresa's plans and goals are more bloated than a high school football stadium in Texas. unifying the world in a fight against Eurypathy has some serious John Lennon energy. But I mean, if that guy was wishing for so much, why didn't he wish to knock the old southern handshake to the back of the skull? Teresa has a lot on her shoulders, and the fate of Terra hanging in the balance adds some serious stakes to Babel. Now, knowing from the start that she gets dropped like a Blue Archive fan's girl after she graduates middle school does limit some of the stakes of the story, but it's pretty good. Teresa is a compelling character. Technically a boss, but rarely an antagonist. Someone who's dreaming of a better world and working to make it a reality. Somewhat similar to Dorothy, minus most of the intriguing philosophical and ethical questions, the actual progress towards the goal, and being a Jerboa. So I guess Teresa is kind of a worse Dorothy. A doomed hero who will have to sit in the cuck chair while the doctor goes to town on Priestess. There's no enemy in Arknights that has an arc quite like FrostNova. Her being more doomed than a libertarian presidential campaign certainly does her story a favor. From the beginning, her introduction casts her as different to the fanatics, psychos, and children that we've been fighting up to that point. While Mephisto is mouth-breathing and shouting about how, I don't know, Elmo is the devil or some shit, FrostNova is a much more reasonable individual, who still tries to kill us, but she isn't completely insane like Mephisto, who is a clever representation of the average Nunu player.
Up in 10, Crew, and we roll around, we just roll around, chat. I know what I'm doing, I'm a genius, I'm a professional Nunu player, he's gonna have to look back now, I'm gonna go kill a fucking minion, and bang, what's happening, my ult is back up, he's standing inside of me, and I take off my pants, and showing my Nunu ass out, and he's fucking dead.
For a couple of chapters later, we run back into her and the Yeti boys, after one of FrostNova's minions activates his stand, Little Dick Virgin, thus opening up a sinkhole that swallows the Doctor and Icy Star explosion. Which leads us to one of the coolest storytelling segments in the game. It's not quite Teresa's death utilizing UI interactions and gameplay mechanics, but this one-on-one heart-to-heart is really cool. You learn that Yelena's life fucking sucked. Like, it's darkly comedic how shitty it was. Her earliest memories are of her parents getting one-tapped like the worst Siege players known to man, then being sent to a labor camp as like a 5-year-old, and being saved only to wander the tundra like the world's shittiest open world game. So basically Genshin Impact past the first two areas. This also gives some insight into why she battles us to the death in our final scrap. If your entire life you've been burned by everyone short of Shaq's forest demon cousin, whose body houses a whole ass quarry of magic AIDS rocks, you would cling to that single lifeline too. Thus, FrostNova reacts to the inconvenience of Rhodes Island the same way I react to any minor inconvenience in my life. Try to fight through it, fail, and cease my existence. FrostNova gets second place due to a combination of seniority and the nature of her story. She's such a cool villain, no pause, especially as someone who isn't insane or happy to be doing reunion duties like the rest of the Grippy Sock All-Star team Tallulah has recruited. Kirsten Wright is a really cool character. I know I should probably have a better segue into my favorite boss, but I'm about as good at writing as the average video game boardroom is at marketing to modern audiences. She is, in my opinion, the most consistently underrated character in the entire game, as the wildly illiterate community that believes this shit is well written, and Dorothy as a villain, has deemed her nothing more than evil science woman. This completely ignores any intricacies surrounding what she did or the benchmark achievement that it was. Now, your parents drunk driving the rocket and getting popped like a balloon when you're 10 is certainly pretty tough. But hey, getting adopted by a movie star isn't the worst you can do. Or getting into college at 13. She was always looking at the sky like a fucking weirdo, sure, but she used to be happy and full of life, you know, like the puppy she is. Now, in one of the coolest character pieces in the game, she has kind of become another Saria. Saria has rubbed off on Kirsten, and not just in the shitty fanfiction type of way. Kirsten has embraced some of Saria's traits, most notably being emotionally distant and driven beyond belief, but lacking the strong moral framework that Saria grounds herself with. It's such an interesting dynamic. Kirsten is in a way a monster Saria created. When they're in their final showdown, even after Saria wins the fight, Kirsten knows exactly what she'll try and activates her Minecraft piston trap. It's so good. The drive and commitment to the goal, the whole formulation of and dynamics throughout Rhine Lab, everything with her and Saria mirroring each other, and the indomitable human spirit triumphing over the indifferent random people on the street who say you can't do that thing. I don't think I can really put a good explanation into words exactly for why I like Kirsten so much. Maybe in the end, it's the pushing towards a goal. And putting your everything into a goal that really speaks to me, like how the story ends with her getting in the sarcophagus. Now, Kirsten didn't want to die, but she was willing to sacrifice anything for her dream. And in a way, that's beautiful. Just like her tits. God, I want to fucking rail her.